Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Accentra Credit Union.
Welcome to Real Conversations. This month, we're taking time to highlight the importance of violence prevention and how to interact with police officers. It's an uncomfortable conversation that many people of color have at a young age with their parents, what to do versus not to do when stopped by a police officer. But many others don't have that conversation. This month's episode shines a light on the ways in which, right here in our community, we are bringing an end to violence one step at a time. Joshua Blount spoke with NAACP representatives and got to the rundown on the 411 on the 50, which is a real-world guide that offers practical advice for safe and respectful interactions with law enforcement.
I'm here with Mike Guster, who is the president of Davenport MetroCom NAACP, and Dr. Henry Brockington, who is the criminal justice chair for Davenport MetroCom NAACP. How are y'all doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. Thank you for joining us. We're going to talk about, interacting with police officers. The NAACP has made several efforts and has also put information out there just for people to follow when it comes to interacting with police officers. Can you all just kind of talk about that?
Well, go ahead, Dr. Brockman.
Well, what we have is we have some things that we know that people should be aware of whenever they're approached by a police officer, things that they're required by the officer to do and what they should follow, but also to know what their rights are as well.
Okay.
And one other thing is the NAACP supports effective law enforcement, but we also have to ensure that that our constitutional rights are always done, worked, and that we are effectively protecting everybody, regardless of whatever race, ethnicity that we may be.
Now, of course, I just want to address, all police officers aren't bad. The reputation comes, as certain situation happens and, things, escalate. But, how do we remind the community of that when, frustrations rise and, tensions are high and things like that?
I think one of the things that we can always do is remain calm and be cooperative when you're stopped by the police. One of the things that the NAACP recommend, if you're in your car, you be prepared to present your driver's license, you be prepared to present your registration and your proof of insurance. Also, if a police is asking you questions, don't get upset with them, cooperate with them, even if the police officer themselves becomes rowdy or something, continue to obey and do what you need to do, because you can always come back at a later date and go to court or something else and be able to change the particular situation of that particular outcome. Now,
that actually leads me to my next question. The information you just mentioned was part of that 411 list that the NAACP has on their national website. And, of course, going off the traffic stop situation, that same list mentions other interactions as well. And I see that you had that with you today. Could you just kind of talk about the other things that guidance give in certain situations?
Absolutely. One of the things we want to do when you're approached by the police, we want to make sure that if you ask for an attorney, you want to make sure that you stay calm, keep your emotions from getting the best of you. Always be courteous, things of that nature. Carry your identification with you at all times. Like I said minutes ago, make sure that you be prepared to present your driver's license, things of this nature. And also, if you're drunk driving, if you're in your car, the police can, and you refuse to take a sobriety test, the police can seize your driver's license. If you have the right to not consent, you should have the right to not consent to a search of your car, and you should make that very clear to them as well. But they can go ahead and do that. So,
okay, now that that guidance right there, applies. If if you're in a traffic stop. But what if if you're walking on the street, or if the police comes to your home for some kind of reason? I did see on the website that same guidance addresses those situations as well.
Okay, if you're in your home, police, absent a warrant or emergency circumstances, the police do not have the right to come into your home. You can deny them access to your home. So make sure that the police have a warrant, or ask them, if they do have a warrant, ask to see the warrant before that they come in. Also, if you are arrested at your home, the police can search you and the surrounding areas where you are located in your particular home. And you just got to cooperate with them and keep calm and things of that nature.
Okay. Now, when it comes to certain situations, people may react, based off, several different things. But what is the best way that a person can, educate themselves and make sure that they know their rights, but as well as know what the police can and can't do?
Well, I think it's important, if you really want to know what your rights are, is to get some advice from an attorney. We have this link on the national website where you can go and get this information, and it's been vetted by our national counsel at the NAACP national office. But it's best to go and get your information from a legal specialist.
Now, I want to bring you into the conversation, Dr. Brockington. Now, you were very active here locally. You've been working with local police here in the Quad Cities to help address, issues here when it comes to police interactions. Can you just talk about some of your efforts and some of the progress you have made?
Well, one of the things we had, probably 15 and 20 years ago, the civil rights director here in Davenport was getting complaints from citizens and from organizations about police, and she wanted to find out exactly what some of the things were that hopefully could be solved in some way. So she put together this committee, or put together this combination of factors from the various organizations. And one of the outstanding ones was involving police stops, whether or not there was bias or not for people of color. And so she decided to bring in those individuals, the organizations that were involved in things like the NAACP, LULAC, and some of the other organizations that were involved in them, to talk about them and talk with the mayor and the city council, et cetera, of hoping, and the police chiefs, to talk about solving some of these. So this conversation went on, and at some point, things did not go quite as well as she had hoped. And the NAACP decided to involve the federal civil rights director from Kansas City, and he came in and talked to the entire group, and they began to decide that to set up a committee that would investigate these things, hopefully get some possible solutions, and offer suggestions to the police department. In other words, being an advocacy for the police department in terms of helping them to find out what's going on and helping them to solve some of the things, or giving suggestions for them to solve certain things.
And what was the name of this committee before you?
It was called DCAP. It was the Davenport Community Advocacy Panel, DCAP. And that organization, that committee, existed for about 8 years. For the first 5 years, things went along pretty good. And then I became chair in the last 3 years of it. And things were not going as well as we'd hoped. We had a limited amount of charges that we could investigate, because we were only an advisory committee for the Davenport Police Department. But they would send their records to a person at St. Ambrose who would analyze the data to find out if there was bias, etc. And in what happened, and once that analysis had taken place, then we would present this program to the community so that the community would know what was going on. So we did 2 of those, and since we were still limited, we were hoping to get further ability to do some of the things. And about that time, the incident in Minneapolis took place. Will Floyd got killed. And as that happened, the law enforcement areas in both the Quad Cities, Iowa and Illinois, put out a memorandum in the paper condemning what happened in Minneapolis. And the president of the NAACP at that time, Mr. Larry Robinson, asked me, since I was involved with the police department with DCAP, to get in contact with them about forming a reform group. So I talked to the police department, and the Iowa side decided yes. The Illinois side wanted to meet with the NAACP in Illinois. So we met with the law enforcement in Iowa Quad Cities, the Iowa Quad Cities, and we set up an organization which we came to be known as the Scott County Law Enforcement Reform Group. And it was composed of members from the NAACP, from LULAC. We had these were the two main groups of people that we had. So we decided that we need to have an MOU so that we'd have some direction to know where we're going, what we were going to do, and who was going to be in charge. And so we had the lawyers get together, and they wrote up an MOU that showed how long we would be in existence, what we hope to be forever in existence, unless things change a lot more than what they were going on to. And we'd hope to be able to show what we were going to do and who was going to be in charge of it. So it was an executive committee set up. And the executive committee would be the president of the NAACP and one additional person, the president of LULAC and one additional person, and the Davenport city administrator, the Bettendorf city administrator, the county sheriff's office. So we make up, and the president and one additional person, and the president of LULAC and president of Davenport NAACP and one additional person were the non-law enforcement people on the group. And then you had the two city people, the city managers, and then the county sheriff. So we made up the exec committee. And then an MOU was written up, and it showed all of this and who was in charge and all of those kind of things. Then what happened, we decided to let the police department know what we were concerned about. So we made a list of those things and presented them to the law enforcement areas, such as gun violence, such as hiring processes, such as the ratio of individuals of color compared to non-color people who were on the police departments, etc. We are now in our 4th year of this organization. We've already had the first 3 years, which was the MOU for 3 years. We have the next MOU that is ready to be signed, but this is the next MOU that's coming up, but we've had it for 4 years. And what happens is that we meet with the police department and the city administrators once a month, and we discuss things that come up. What things do we discuss? Well, gun violence is one. We have a committee in the Quad City, in the Davenport area, known as GVI, and we bring people in occasionally to talk to us about where they are and how that is progressing as we go along. But incidents we use to decide what we're going to have for that agenda will depend on things that were happening not only locally but nationally as well. For example, if we had some outbreak in some other cities, like some with the police department, we bring that in and talk about it. How would you, as the police department here, have handled this situation? Because they've already presented to us their policies, but do they have a policy that would be better in which to handle a situation that you saw happen in wherever it happened before? So those are the kinds of things we've done. Suggestions that come from them that have been used by the police departments in improving their things. The whole idea was to hopefully we would have individuals that would be involved in talking about things so that we would not have things happening here that we've seen happen in many other cities and across the nation. And so far, I think we've been very successful in doing that as we continue.
Yeah, I was going to say specifically, which departments here in the Quad Cities have you all worked with, and just, if you can kind of tell me more just in detail how those interactions usually go and things like that.
Well, basically we work with the police departments, but we also work with the cities of Davenport and the city of Bettendorf, because we have the city of Bettendorf administrator, the city of Davenport administrator, we have the police chief of Davenport, the police chief of Bettendorf are in our group that make up the reform group. So we meet with them every month. And from that we may have, for example, sometimes something happen and they would ask us to come in and take a look at the body cam or whatever. Or talk to us about, or we need to talk to them about something that we heard that we want to investigate and find out what happened. Well, what we have is that as a result of our group acting together, I think we've come to have a better understanding of the police work. The police have a better understanding of what we're dealing with when the public comes to us with problems that need to be solved. And I think that's the whole idea, is we're trying to make it a better place for us all to live in.
Now, this is like a question just to kind of bring you back into the conversation as well. You know, based on his efforts and, you know, his interaction with the police and, you know, just everything that's being done, you know, how do you all see currently that the progress that is being made, the conversation that is being had with the police officers is taking, you know, things in a positive direction and helping prevent any, you know, future incidents from happening in any kind of way?
Absolutely, because it gives us an opportunity to sit down and talk about various problems or issues that we think is happening in the community that has an opportunity to make relationships better. Dr. Brockton talked about the point that that they request us to come in and look at the body cam, but it's actually us. We request to go in and look at the body cam, and the chiefs have been so gracious to allow us to come in and do that, and that puts a lot of clarity on information, and it gives us an opportunity to look at both sides from a complaint that's filed by an individual with our organization, and then get the information from the police chief or the camera from this body cam, which is not going to lie, and help us to take that back to the individuals and just show them, tell them and stuff in a nice specific report that, hey, this is not what happened. This is what our findings are, and so hey, it just helps make an all around better situation within the community.
You know, and speaking about the community, you know, how do you all feel that we continue as a community to make progress to a point where, you know, there is no longer a worry? You know, sometimes I've spoken to just people in the community and just people throughout my life where they might still feel a worry during a traffic stop or something like that, despite, you know, not every police officer being bad. So how do you all feel that, you know, we continue to make progress in a great direction, both from a community standpoint and like a law enforcement standpoint? What can the community do to continue to make sure we're doing our part to, you know, keep pushing things in a positive direction?
I'll take the first bite at it. I think we continue to meet and voice our concern and have community meetings with our chief, our mayor, and with our city council to express those things that are going well, to express those things that are going bad. And so the community needs to lead that voice and just make that known. And,
one of the things I'd like to add with that kind of supports that idea is when you look at hiring. When it first started, there was the amount of hiring as far as people of color as opposed to non-people of color involved in the various police departments was not as good as it is today. It has improved. We found some things that were probably not working quite well. We informed the police departments about them. They looked at them and agreed with us, those kind of things. One of them was the interviews process. And as a result of that, we found that helped a lot, because what we asked them is that, okay, with people of color, what is one of the big factors? We know everything is there. You have a physical activity that they have to do as far as process testing, taking tests as well. But what are some of the things that have been shown with people of color as to why they did not make it through the entire process? And we talked about some of those kinds of things. Then we went back and there were groups formed to help individuals who were candidates for the police department to practice on this. They also put up a practice test for people, not just for people of color, but for anyone who wanted to go into the police departments. They would have a practice test that they could take to see how well they are and where they were at that point. So those are some of the things that we got from having talked to the police department, having looked at the process for hiring, and then suggested things, and some of those things were suggestions were used in terms of increasing their process. So those kinds of things are the things that would help, and continuation of doing those things to, first of all, be able to see what the problem is, and then to talk about how to solve the problem. But you first have to know what the problem is first, So that's one of the things that happen when you sit down and talk to somebody.
Okay. And then, you know, jumping back to that 411 guidance, where can people find the access to see, you know, that list of information so they can like maybe have it just on hand?
They can go to naacp.org, and in the search bar they can type 411, and it'll come up and show them that information right there on the national website. We are getting ready to redo our website. I'm gonna make sure the link to that information is right there as well on our local website as well.
Okay. And I just want to ask one more thing. Is there anything currently that you all are working on to, you know, better the interactions with police officers at this moment that y'all can just think off the top of your head, maybe?
There's nothing in particular that we're working right now other than to continue to meet with them monthly to air our to look at possible issues or anything like that there and stuff. So, but that's all that I know of. I don't think of anything else unless you have something over there that I don't know about.
Well, and ongoing things about you said of things that we have like gun violence, et cetera. That's a process that is not going to end right away because as long as there are guns around, there are going to be some gun violence. But we've seen that there is a decrease in the amount of gun violence that has been happening, and those are kinds of things that we need to continue to work on. We know that the hiring process is still a process we need to work on, so we're still working on those things as well. So nothing new that I can say is happening, but it is the things that we've been working on all along that we will continue to work on.
Okay. And then if someone from the community wants to, you know, talk to the NAACP and, you know, give maybe their perspective or a complaint or just something how they feel about when it comes to police interactions, is there a way for them to do that with you all?
They can reach out to us at our website, which is www.naacp.org, or they can call me at 563-343-7655, and I'll be glad to speak to them, make an appointment to talk to them about any issue they might have regarding this. And let me just say that we have some of the best relationships with law enforcement here. Dr. Brockett didn't mention, I don't think I heard him say anything about our sheriff's office. We do have them as well as the state police in our meetings as well and stuff. And so I just wanted to give kudos to our two chiefs because whatever we talk to them about, they are ready and available to us, and they speak very frank, and we're very frank with them about our issue. And you know, sometimes where we disagree, both of us, we agree to disagree, but that doesn't stop us from keep talking.
Okay, sounds good. Well, listen, thank you for sitting down and talking to me today just about these concerns, and you know, continue to do great things, and we will be watching you all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jackson Butler spoke to those who are truly about the change. They're not only making a difference in the community, but are also inspiring youth through their encouragement of violence prevention.
Today I have Tila Shore, who is the Director of Community Violence Prevention at Family Resources. T, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So talking about violence prevention, tell me what you do at Family Resources.
So I am the Community Violence Intervention Director at Family Resources. I oversee the Homicide and Other Violent Crimes team. I oversee the Group Violence Intervention Initiative, and I also oversee the CAP team, which stands for Coordinated Assessment Program. Our Homicide and Other Violent Crimes team, we serve survivors of homicide, of course, arson, child abuse, elder abuse, family domestic. We serve everyone that is not impacted by domestic violence or sexual assault and breaking traffic. So we're kind of like a catch-all program. Our group violence intervention program is, it's not a program, it's an initiative. So I want to be clear in saying that our initiative is working with the community around firearm prevention and violence, and making sure that we get the word out that we want to see people safe, alive, and out of jail. And so we work with survivors of that, but we also work with the community to feel safe, because we know firearm violence is prevalent. And then CAP, our coordinated assessment program, is our wraparound services. So we tie that in with GVI, and so we know that some of the youth that we in our community are involved in some of those violent acts, and so we take that program and we use it as our wraparound services for the Davenport School District, as well as the youth we know that are involved in some of those violent acts.
Mm-hmm. So pretty much anything that is associated with violence, you have resources all around the way, all ages, doesn't matter.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. 0 to 99.
Yep. Okay, so that's great. So what challenges do you face in your work, and how do you overcome them?
So I will say we face many challenges, and some of that is because people are not aware of our services first off, and so we make sure that we continue to do outreach on a continuous basis. Another challenge that I've seen with rolling out the group violence intervention initiative is when we're showing up at your door to do custom notifications. And let me just tell you what custom notifications are, so you know exactly what I'm speaking of. Custom notifications are where there's a police officer, there's social services, and then there's an honored community member that go to the door and say, hey, look, we know that you might be a victim of gun violence. We know that you might be involved in some of the acts of gun violence. And what we want to do is keep our community safe. We want the violence to stop, but we know that there's some needs here. And so we're here to offer a genuine extension of help. And so when we go out to do custom notifications, it's a little weird to see all three entities standing at your door. Sometimes you might see one or the other, but not all three together. And so the challenge has been getting the community to buy in. And so we started in Davenport, Iowa, and that is going really well now because people know we're showing up and we really care about them, and we want to bridge the gap and build relationships. And in Rock Island, we're just getting started. And so the challenge here is having that buy-in. And so that's the challenge with group violence intervention, and just, being used to all three entities showing up at your door. And then coordinated assessment program, it's just making sure that, we have those wraparound services. And so some of the challenges are making sure that all people have what they need. And so we rely on the families and the clients to tell us what they need. And so some of that can be a challenge. And then having that open communication about what you need is also a challenge, because no one wants to appear to be a burden to anyone. And so we want to make sure that the relationships are there, and we're addressing some of those challenges as well.
So circling back to the challenge with where all three of the entities.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the name of
Custom
that?
notification.
Custom notification.
Yes.
Okay. So what is the protocol for that? Do you guys, is it certain police calls that you've received until you show up, or is it first defense? How does that work?
So law enforcement identifies, our partnership with law enforcement has been really successful, because they have opened up a door where we communicate about the things that are going on in the community as well. So law enforcement identifies individuals who have either been a victim or could potentially be a victim of violence, also could possibly be a retaliatory act. And so what we do is we go out and try to intervene before any of that takes place. And so also we know that people are associated with other people in the community that may be committing some of those crimes. And so what we go out and do is say, look, we're not here to serve notice on anybody about any violence, but we know that there's some violence happening around you or within that environment that you're in. And so we go and we have conversations about the violence and how we really want the community to thrive. And then social services kind of takes over. So we want people to understand that we're not there to serve like a warrant or any kind of warning, but we do want our community safe and the violence to stop.
Mm-hmm. So leading up to that, with especially going to specific communities, so how do you involve the community in violence prevention programs?
We have a group of community members that go out and do those custom notifications with us, and we want people that have lived experiences. And so that's what we rely on. I go to the community members that have been honored for years, because every community has a hero that has more authority than what I have, or a law enforcement coming in. And it's just been built off relationships. And so we go out and we do outreach. We, are going out and talking to people about our initiative. And we have some very honorable community members that come on board and do those custom notifications with us. And a lot of times they know, the homes or the families that we're going to their houses to work with. And so that's been very successful, because again, it's not every day that you see social services, an honored community member, and law enforcement showing up to your door to say, we want to help you. We want to build a relationship and not serve any kind of consequences.
Yeah, and then I think that that's great, especially in the Black community.
Absolutely.
It's where we are, is someone that's notable who I respect, to, that safe person for
Yes,
me. And
yes.
then seeing, people that look like me that I don't know who you are, but you're showing up at my door and you guys are trying to, get me on the right path. That's powerful.
Yes.
That is very powerful.
And after that, we do follow up. So if there's, a GED that's needed, or you need, some academic advocacy, medical advocacy, employment. I mean, we come in and we assess all of your needs, even if it's the little, big, small things, is what we call them, driver's license, a birth certificate. We're showing up to extend a genuine offer of help, not to serve any consequences about anything.
That's great. That is amazing. So what role does education and awareness play in approach to all of your programs?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, it's big. I mean, we know that there's marginalized communities, of course, that don't always know about the programming and services. And so that outreach piece, that education and bringing awareness to the entire city is what our goal is, because we want people to know we are here. We don't want you to just show up when something has occurred or violence is occurring. We want to be preventative in our measures. And so if there's a school that there's a group of kids that we know may be having some minor issues, get me in there. Let us do some support groups, or get my staff in and let's talk about how violence, how we can prevent violence and how we can keep you safe. And so I think education and awareness is key to making sure people have appropriate programming and services.
Yes, I definitely agree. So what are some common misconceptions about violence prevention that you've encountered?
Common misconceptions that we're just here for a short while. This is just a program. I have been a witness in my own community of many programs that have come and go. And I think the work that we are doing, it is going to occur whether I'm here or not. And so I think our community has been programmed enough. And so that's why we take the approach of an initiative with the Group Violence Intervention Initiative, because it's something that we don't want to be another program. And so I think sometimes when I tell people what we're doing, they're like, oh, this is just another program, or this will go away, or there'll be some type of systemic barrier that'll be placed where I can't get services. And that's just not the truth. We are here. We are genuinely here extending offers of help.
Yeah.
And so it's not going away anytime soon.
How impactful has it been in our community? Can you share some results with us now?
So I think, what I will say is we've done at least 150 custom notifications, and we have at least 70 of those who have come into services. And so I think that is very impactful. But we also have had a decrease in crime and car thefts, and so that is speaking volumes to what we're out doing as far as outreach and custom notifications, and really talking to people and building relationships. I think people are starting to feel safe. And so when we look at our data from our surveys, we know that 90% of the people that we're serving reply that they feel safer now that they have our services. And so I think that's the biggest impact that we can have in our community. People are starting to feel safe in their
Yes,
environments.
that is huge. So, how can individuals and communities support your work, T, and contribute to violence prevention?
We have a volunteer program. Please come and volunteer. We want people that are passionate about the work that we're doing to get out on the streets with us or get into other organizations and make sure that people are aware of the services and make sure that they know that they're genuine people that care and want to provide those services. But we also have those community members that I talked about doing custom notifications. If you know you are vital in our community, come on board. Walk beside us. It doesn't just take one of us, it takes all of us. And then if you know in the community that there's an event or something going on, let me know. I'm going to show up. I'm going to have staff show up. I'm going to bring out the whole community if possible. We want to make sure that the people in our community we all serve see us all together, cohesive and as a united front.
And any specific organizations?
So I have my own organization, which is Tee It Up Movements that I do outside of work. And it's culturally specific. And what I'm working to do is build my community up because I know that there's been some struggles. But I also know that there's been some generational things that we haven't entirely been able to get away from. And so I'm not saying I'm the expert in that, but what I am saying is I have lived experience. And so I want to utilize that to, give my community a hand up and not a handout because we don't need that. But also the boxing club. Ramsey and his family has been very vital in making sure these kids are off the street and doing something different than being violent. They're learning a craft, they're learning a skill, and they're exhibiting it, and they're winning. And then you have our sororities and fraternities in our area. They're working all the time in our community. So I want to shout them out. The Lincoln Center. I mean, there's so many organizations that are doing the work and that we are standing united in this front together that, I missed probably a whole bunch of them, but if I didn't say their names, I am proud of them and I want to shout them out. So keep working for our community.
And how do our viewers learn more about the Community Violence Intervention Program at Family Resources and your organization?
You can check us out at FAMRES, FAMRES.org. That's our website. Or you can contact me directly at TL@famres.org. And I'm T. LaShore. That's TEEL at famres.org. Hit me up. I got you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. T mentioned a few organizations that assist with violence prevention in our community. I will now be speaking to Ramsey VC Jr., who is the son of Ramsey VC and the owner of Rock Island Boxing Club, and Ed Dawson, who is the chapter president of Zeta Zeta Sigma chapter of Davenport Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Thank you guys so much for joining me. So can you describe the primary strategies your organization uses to prevent violence? So what are some of the things that you guys do to prevent violence?
You want to go first? Yeah. So one of the things we do is we believe in our principles, our brotherhood, scholarship, and service. And when our young men that we believe in that they're the next generation of leaders, and we adapt that same concept with them, that we can make them better and show them a better way of life, and that we really enforce compliance.
For us, it's more than just teaching them boxing skills. It's about teaching them self-discipline, self-control, those type of things.
Yeah, those are great ways to keep them out of trouble. So what are the ages of that you guys work with?
For us, the age is all ages really, but me and my cousin Rashawn, we started when we were 5 years old, so that's the age we recommend. But there's kids that come in here that's 3, 2, they just to be around it.
Yeah, and that's very important because that's kind of when they are learning about their own behavior. So that's those coping ages. That's great. And then for your
our auxiliary group is the Sigma Beta Club, and we go from 8 to 18, and very similar to what we really try to focus on, that age of where they begin to understand in that transition. That's why we go from 8, and then we look at transiting into the adulthood at 18.
Yeah, that's great. So what are some of the most effective programs or initiatives that you have implemented? So are there any specific programs that you guys have here at the boxing club?
Not necessarily, but it's just you have guys like us that's been around it since the ground up. and we're professional boxers. And then, you know, the kids come in, they're 5 years old, 10 years old, and to be able to have those one-on-one, you know, conversations with interactions with us is, you know, I'm pretty sure it means a lot to them.
Mm-hmm. And then for you.
Yeah, basically what we do is we try to focus on volunteerism. So we do a lot of volunteerism. We take them to the things that we do, the American Heart Association walk. Then we also, now that I know that we have the boxing opportunity, we take them to programs like that. But mostly our focus with them on the individual level is really trying to understand where they are in their academic and in their development. And then we try to wrap a program around them and use resources to help bring them to adulthood.
Yeah. So how do you measure the success and impact of your programs?
The parents tell us, the kids will tell us themselves. You know, we pay attention to those things as well, like the behavior changes. And, you know, we definitely have that impact on them too. It's just to be around it. You know, like I don't use the term role model too loosely, but, you know, there's certain values that we have to, you know, model for them to see. You know, we can't just tell them, you know, we have to show them too. Mm-hmm. And they pick up on that stuff. Yeah.
And, you know, that kind of leads up to a follow-up question that I have with you. So what are some of the misconceptions about, especially with it being a boxing club? So, you know, when people say, you know, hey, you know, this is actually violence prevention, what are some of the misconceptions that you face with it being an already violent sport?
Mm-hmm. The biggest misconception is that it, like you said, that it is a violent sport, but it's much more than that. You know, it's about respect, and, you know, it's a brotherhood. You know, like you said, it's mainly for like boys, but girls aren't too. Like my little sister's a boxer, but it's, you know, it's about a brotherhood, and it's a respect thing, and, you know, that's about it.
Mm-hmm. And then, so Ed, how do you measure the success and impact of your programs?
Very similar. We look at how they have made those changes, especially in the home. Are they taking responsibility? Our biggest thing is getting especially young men, to actually accept responsibility. And they making those changes at home. Mm-hmm. So if your mom tell you to take out the trash, she shouldn't have to ask you. You begin to do that. That's when we began to get the feedback from the parents that our program is effective and is changing. And then we see the academics. So what we're doing academically, is it making them be more successful in school? Are they taking academics more serious? So a lot of that, we measure it based off of where they are in their environment.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, being that this is the boxing gym, you know, the kids, they're very aware that, you know, their jab may have not improved from 6 months ago, but, you know, they can be being a more responsible student at school, you know, a better brother, a better son. Yeah. So I don't think they pay attention to those things, but we see that though.
Yeah. So we got gentlemen and protection. I see what you guys are doing here. So can you guys share any success stories or examples of how your work has made a difference, specifically in our community?
Well, I mean, just starting at home, like my brother Courtney, we started off with boxing, and then eventually he started running track, and his sophomore year of high school, and he made it to the Olympics. And then, you know, my cousin Rashawn, he's made it. He's probably had the most decorated amateur career in this area, and he's made it. He's been overseas. He's trained with Team USA, and, you know, our story's still being written.
Yes.
And it's impacted a lot of people. You know, they have his jerseys and everything hanging up at the school. So
mm-hmm. I love it.
It's pretty cool.
Yes.
Oh, if I'm,
it's your turn.
Mine is a little different. Got an opportunity to play Santa Claus along with my wife played Mrs. Claus. And for the young people that we interacted with, it was a tremendous impact on them to see someone that looked like them play that role of Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. And then have my wife, my real wife, actually be Mrs. Claus, which we did that for a reason, to show that a couple can show you how to love each other and be a part of a family. A lot of my kids come from single parent homes mm-hmm. who haven't really seen that couple together like that. So it was, I know we're going to continue to do that. And it's, we just got tremendous feedback for it and a call to do it again. But I think we've made a good impact in that, and we've seen the kids join or want to join after we did that.
Mm-hmm. And then to add on to the many things that you are doing in the community, but just seeing a massive brotherhood together, you know, I think that's vital for our youth especially here in the Quad Cities, because you know, there's so many negative things that they can get involved in, but to see a positive brotherhood and you guys are out in the community, or, you know, a positive business and you guys are making efforts and making moves of the community, that itself is a huge success. So kudos to both of you guys. So how can individuals and communities support your work and contribute to your programs?
Like T said, just, you know, our doors is open. You know, we had a cameraman actually from St. Louis. All he did was, he was down here one day, he just looked through the window and asked my dad, could he start coming down here to take pictures? And he's a coach now. So our doors is open. You know, you don't have to have any boxing knowledge. You know, my dad didn't have boxing knowledge, and he's a coach. So just walking in through them doors and having something, like, you have something to contribute.
Yeah.
That's all.
I mean, for us, a lot of it doesn't have to be monetary, but it takes a lot to try to do some of these programs. We try to piggyback on programs as we have in the boxing, but we can do some of those things at low cost. But it's really facilities, maybe, you know, dedicating the facility for us, or just supporting some of our efforts where we try to raise scholarship money, so just donating some of those fundraisers that we do, and so we can give back, because all the funds that we do goes back into the kids, mostly the kids in the program, the community. So.
And Ramsey, how do our viewers reach you and learn more information about the Rock Island Boxing Club?
They can contact us on Facebook. It's just Rock Island Boxing Club. YouTube, it has all our history on there from when we were this tall. So, but Facebook for sure.
Okay. And then Ed, how does our viewers learn more about your chapter?
Yeah, we have Facebook as well. It's Quad Cities Sigmas, and our email is Phi Beta Sigma Zeta Zeta, well, ZZ, 3 Z's, at gmail.com.
All right. Thank you all for everything you guys are doing to the community, and I look forward to hearing and watching you guys flourish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Davenport Police Department shared new statistics at the end of 2024 showing incidents of violent crime being down. Tim Stinson spoke with the City of Davenport Police Chief Jeffrey Bladel and learned more about the trends and how violence has gone down in the city.
Well, we're here, and we're very appreciative to have with us today on Real Conversations Chief Jeffrey Bladel. Thank you for stopping by and having, I like to call it, just a conversation with us.
Yeah, we very much appreciate you giving us the time, and I look forward to speaking with you.
Yeah, this will be good. And Chief Bladel and I had the opportunity before we get going here to just have some conversation. So I'm finding out a lot. Been asking a lot of questions already, but I know our audience, they have some things they might want to know. So I would like to kind of go through and, first kind of start off, looking back for 2019, what stands out as the biggest change in crime and safety in the city of Davenport?
Yeah, so I know we've talked a number of, on this topic a number of times, and you guys done a number of stories, but we had an extensive violent crime issue right around 2019, 2020. We were experiencing, gun violence at levels we've never experienced as a community. I think with the biggest change is how we respond as a community. So we look at that in the sense of understanding that, it's not just a law enforcement issue, it's a community issue. I think when we had the opportunity to come together and understand that the problems that we saw aren't unachievable, right, to fix. We were getting overwhelmed with headlines, overwhelmed with issues, to the point of where we as the police department were continually responding and reacting and responding and reacting. And the community felt very unsafe because that's all the headlines were. But when we start diving in as a community and understanding the issues, they weren't as big as that we thought they were. Okay. To the point of where we can now identify, in sense of what the issues are, focus our attention. And I'll give you an example real quick was when we finally did an analysis of our, our homicides and our shootings, it amounted out to like 0.1% or 1.18% of our population was involved for 56% of the 56% of our shootings. We can work on that together. In the same sense, law enforcement, we felt that, this was our problem to solve. realistically branching out and having the community start to, join us and understand where it is that we have our strong points, where the community is strong in their points, and how do we collaborate and work together. That's where we're going to start making the bigger difference and impact.
Okay, all right. And bringing up community and making that impact, I think takes both. I mean, working together and things. Do you feel the community feels safer nowadays than maybe in the past?
I think they do, and I think it comes back to that understanding of that we don't always bring a solution, right? That we're not the solution. So we like to look down the continuum of we need prevention, we need intervention, but we also need law enforcement. But we can't necessarily lead with law enforcement. We can't lead with, a lot of those other pieces. We have to look at that as a continuum to where we as a community are addressing all of those areas, right? And if we sit there and feel as the police that, we're responsible and our wheelhouse is enforcement and that's all we're doing, we're not going to make any progress on the issues. So now when we start and have the ability to work with the community on preventative pieces, work with our advocates on the interventive pieces, we all have the ability to stay in our lanes, do our expertise, and let the experts do the expert thing. And at the end of the day, that's where you're going to start getting the results of, a safer community.
Okay, wonderful. Technology is playing a big role in everything now, every industry, whatever. How are you guys working with technology in Davenport, and which maybe you've seen even across the country?
Yeah, so we have had great opportunities to expand our technology within our agency, and we anywhere from forensic, gun casings or casing analysis through cameras. Through crime analysis. So a lot of technology, we have the ability to do those things in the past 4 years. Biggest game changer is the cameras that we see. And, we have the ability to collaborate with our community, on a camera registry program. And that's not necessarily us tapping into people's cameras or seeing anything real time. But with the registry piece, it gives an opportunity for our community members to sign up their camera. If we have an incident within their area, we know on a map who has cameras, and it gives us an opportunity to knock on a door, make a face-to-face contact and, collaborate on that piece. And the community has been extraordinary partner in helping solve, a number of crimes with that piece.
Now we're talking about, Davenport again. We're here with Davenport Chief Jeffrey Blado. One question that we had talked about off the camera was the collaboration, I guess, with the other chiefs in the Quad City areas, and dealing with, you're talking about the cameras and things. Is that something you see across the Quad Cities as well?
It is. And again, I would say, just within the last, 4 or 5 years, it's been an extraordinary collaboration with all of our Quad City agencies, whether it's our county, whether it's our municipal, even our judicial, corrections, everything. We share information on a weekly basis. We, coordinate. I think the camera piece is huge to where we have the ability to, share information very quickly, whether it's in Illinois, whether it's here. So having that ability to meet weekly, having that ability to make sure that we all understand what's going on. And a lot of times what we'll see is that potentially they're impacting multiple cities. So we as the policing entity can jump on those issues a lot quicker with that communication.
Okay, wonderful. Speaking of the Davenport school systems, how are you guys collaborating with them? How do you reach out to the school systems and also to the various church organizations out there?
Yeah, so I would look at two pieces to that. Our crime prevention, does deliberate and targeted community engagement, and they're out there. They're meeting with our church groups, they're meeting with other advocacy groups. They're putting on community events and responding to community events, and just trying to get the human side of law enforcement. I think that needs to understand that we're a partner, right? We're a partner here. We're not we're not our own entity. We're a part of the community, and we have to maintain that piece. In the community, or actually in the schools, through our SROs, we have daily communications and collaboration with our schools. The interaction we have with our kids, I would look at, and I think one of the pieces was how safe or how fast do people reach out to the police if something's going to happen. And I think the schools are a very good example. We have a P3 tip to where if something is going on or they feel that, a student may be in possession of a weapon or something is going to brew up, they have the ability to rapidly talk with us, and they trust our SROs to go talk to them. So those communications are coming up very quickly. But I couldn't be more proud of the efforts, from all of our officers reaching out with the community, understanding that that's a huge piece in what we do. We wouldn't be able to, police our community if we didn't have a good relationship with our community.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Sounds like we've seen some success as we're moving forward here and things. Can you share, maybe a success story that really stands out with you that over the past years?
I think a lot of our success, and I'll bridge to our biggest challenge I think that we faced as a community, was gun violence. Through that year process, we developed, group violence intervention. Again, that's one piece of our overall strategy, but that was one piece that brought together our community, brought together our advocacy groups, and went out there and actually did reach out to people that were high risk in trying to prevent gun violence, as well as bringing that message of we're here to help as well. Through that process so far, and that started in 2020, actually 2022, we've reached out to over nearly 170 people. With that message of, we want to keep people safe, alive, out of prison. That's not what the police are here for when it comes to this. We want to stop gun violence. One shooting, one person shot is one too many. So with that, we've seen with those contacts right around a 25% reoffensive rate, or recidivism. I always say that word wrong, but that's a success story that we're getting in front of it, and we're keeping people away from the violence piece of that. And I think as we continue to go through this strategy through time, we'll continue to keep that message fresh.
Okay. Have you seen a shift? And I think you've touched on some of this, but have you seen a shift in how young people are interacting with law enforcement in a positive way?
Yeah, and I think it goes. I mean, it goes both ways. Yeah. And I think for us, we stand a lot on our SROs. They know everybody within the schools, out of the schools. In the summertime, they're back, in the neighborhoods with the kids that they, spent the time with in the schools. So it's maintaining those relationships. We've gotten a lot of success, again, through conversations just with our SROs, to where it would potentially lead us to something that could have been potentially community dangerous. So I think the relationships are there. I think that is a constant piece that we have to continue to work at. We have to continue to reach out. We're going to continue to get another generation. But we have to, we have to keep that messaging going that we are here, and again, part of the community to help.
Okay. I want to back up a little bit because I noticed you said SRO, just in case people are not sure, and maybe you touched on it earlier through all our questioning here in the conversation. What is SRO?
So that's our school resource officers.
Okay.
So we have police officers within the school systems, within the high schools, but also work and branch out to the elementaries as well as the junior highs, and put that positive message out there. They're there as a resource. And they're there if anything happens, in a dangerous manner. Okay.
A lot of progress going on here. How do we keep that going? We talked about community involvement, reaching out to the schools, to, churches, community. Is that how we continue moving?
So we always look at these things, right? And I think one of the things that we've learned along the way is that we hear the words programs and programming, but we have to scrap that thought. And the thought has to be strategy, right? We're building a community strategy. We're building a strategy within the police department. What the strategy does versus a program, because programs usually have a start and an end. What a strategy does is it lasts, right? It's going to be there longer than I'm going to be there. Somebody can build upon that strategy. And the same with the community's response when we look at the prevention and intervention piece. So a lot of people move different positions and do different things. We could have something that's working right this minute. But how we sustain it is looking at it as a community strategy. It's not a program. Our strategy, we all have the same goals of keeping our community safe. We all have a role in keeping our community safe, but understanding that it goes well beyond me, and hopefully the strategy is set up within the policing side of that, that'll carry it on well beyond me.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Well, you know what, I appreciate having this conversation with you, on camera and off camera. It's been great, but again, here with Davenport Police Department Chief Jeffrey Blado, and we appreciate your time today.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for what you do. And I know you got a number of great guests on this as well.
Yeah.
So that we've worked with.
Yes.
On all the things we
Yes.
have.
Appreciate it, and look forward to having you back.
All right.
All right.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of Real Conversations, brought to you in partnership with TMBC at the Lincoln Center. It is important to note that these conversations should not stop here. In fact, community-wide conversations and partnerships are vital in preventing crime and ensuring community safety.
Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Accentra Credit Union.